for some questions for Dan Gilbert. 1 and 2.
Bill Liao, would you say that this mechanism is in part how terrorism actually works to frighten us? And is there some way that we could counteract that?
I actually was consulting recently with the Department of Homeland Security, which generally believes that American security dollars should go to making borders safer. I tried to point out to them that terrorism was a name based on people's psychological reaction to a set of events, and that if they were concerned about terrorism, they might ask what causes terror and how can we stop people from being terrified, but in addition to stopping the atrocities that we're all concerned about. Surely the kinds of a play that at least American media give to, and forgive me, but in raw numbers, these are very tiny accidents. We already know, for example, in the United States, that more people have died as a result of not taking airplanes because they're scared and driving on highways than were killed in 9/11. Okay? If I told you that there was a plague that was going to kill 15,000 Americans next year, you might be alarmed if you didn't find out it was the flu. These are small-scale accidents, and we should be wondering whether they should get the kind of play, the kind of coverage that they do. Surely that causes people to overestimate the likelihood that they'll be hurt in these various ways and gives power to the very people who want to frighten us.
I'd like to hear more on this. So you're saying that our response to terror is, it's a form of mental bug. Talk more about it.
It's outsized. I mean, look, if Australia disappears tomorrow, terror is probably the right response. That's an awful large lot of very nice people. On the other hand, when a bus blows up and 30 people are killed, more people than that were killed by not using their seatbelts in the same country. Is terror the right response?
What causes the bug? Is it the drama of the event, that it's so spectacular? Is it the fact that it's an intentional attack by, quote, outsiders? What is it?
Yes. It's a number of things, and you hit on several of them. First, it's a human agent trying to kill us. It's not a tree falling on us by accident. Second, these are enemies who may want to strike and hurt us again. People are being killed for no reason instead of good reason, as if there's good reason, but sometimes people think there are. So there are a number of things that together make this seem like a fantastic event. But let's not play down the fact that newspapers sell when people see something in it they want to read. So there's a large role here played by the media who want these things to be as spectacular as they possibly can.
I mean, what would it take to persuade our culture to downplay it?
Well, go to Israel. You know, go to Israel and a mall blows up and then everybody's unhappy about it, and an hour and a half later, at least when I was there, and I was 150 feet from the mall when it blew up, I went back to my hotel, and the wedding that was planned was still going on. And as the Israeli mother said, we never let them win by stopping weddings. I mean, this is a society that's learned, and there are others too, that has learned to live with a certain amount of terrorism and not be quite as upset by it, shall I say, as those of us who've not had many terror attacks.
But is there a rational fear that actually the reason we're frightened about this is because we think that the big one is to come?
Yes, of course. So if we knew that this was the worst attack there would ever be, there might be more and more buses of 30 people, we would probably not be nearly so frightened. I don't want to say, please, I'm going to get quoted somewhere as saying terrorism is fine and we shouldn't be so distressed. That's not my point at all. What I'm saying is that surely rationally, our distress about things that happen, about threats, should be roughly proportional to the size of those threats and threats to come. I think in the case of terrorism, it isn't. And many of the things we've heard about from our speakers today, how many people do you know got up and said, poverty, I can't believe what poverty is doing to this. People get up in the morning, they don't care about poverty. It's not making headlines, not making news, it's not flashy, there are no guns going off. I mean, if you had to solve one of these problems, Chris, which would you solve, terrorism or poverty? That's a tough one.
You don't have to be the victim of your culture. It's not like your eye color or your height or your gender. It's fragile. It can be remade if you wish it to be. And then the question is, well, how does one download a new operating system? Well, first of all, you have to clear some space on your disk. The best way to do this is probably with a pharmacological agent. You think of some while I have a drink of water. Psilocybin is an excellent disc cleaner. You can put a lot of things in the trash and have them just disappear with a psilocybin upgrade. Other pharmacological agents that will clear your disc are ayahuasca. And of course, these are gentle clearings of the disc, which take 5, 6, 7 hours. If you're in a hurry to dump that old data and leap right into the new operating system, click on the button marked dimethyltryptamine. A compressed disk erasure will immediately be downloaded, unstuffed, bin-hexed, implemented, installed, run, and you will find yourself with an entirely different head. Now, shamans have always known, though they may not have used the kind of language I'm using here, shamans have always known this trick. What trick? It has two facets. First of all, that culture is an operating system. That's all it is. And that the operating system can be wiped out and replaced by something else. So, in essentially, what's going on among shamans and those who resort to them for curing and counseling and so forth is somebody's running a slightly more advanced operating system than the customer. The shaman is in possession of certain facts about plants, about animals, about healing, about human psychology, about the local geography, about mojo of many different sorts that the client is not aware of. The client is running culture light. The shaman paid for the registered and licensed version of the software and is running a much heavier version of the software than the client. I think we should all aspire to make this upgrade. It's very important that you have all the bells and whistles on your operating system. Otherwise, somebody is going to be able to get a leg up on you. Well, what's wrong with the operating system that we have? Consumer capitalism 5.0 or whatever it is. Well, it's dumb. It's retro. It's very non-competitive. It's messy. It wastes the environment. It wastes human resources. It's inefficient. It runs on stereotypes. It runs on a low sampling rate, which is what creates stereotypes. Low sample rates make everybody appear alike, when in fact the glory is in everyone's differences. And the current operating system is flawed. It actually has bugs in it that generate contradictions. Contradictions such as we're cutting the earth from beneath our own feet. We're poisoning the atmosphere that we breathe. This is not intelligent behavior. This is a culture with a bug in its operating system that's making it produce erratic, dysfunctional, malfunctional behavior. Time to call the tech. And who are the techs? The shamans are the techs.